It was just another glamorous evening at the luxurious Crystal Grand Hotel. The lobby gleamed under dazzling chandeliers as celebrities, business tycoons, and Hollywood elites made their way through the red carpet, posing for cameras and exchanging polite, scripted smiles. Among the crowd was Keanu Reeves, effortlessly charming in his tailored black suit, exuding a calm, humble presence despite the chaos around him. While everyone admired his grace and humility, a quiet, unassuming figure moved silently in the background. Maria, a 60-year-old cleaner with tired eyes and a worn navy blue uniform, pushed her cleaning cart down a hidden hallway, her mind far from the glitz and glamour around her. For Maria, this night was just another shift, another night of picking up after the wealthy, keeping everything spotless without being seen. But tonight, something weighed heavy on her heart. In a small, run-down apartment, not far from the hotel, her 12-year-old grandson, Jamie, lay in bed fighting a rare illness that had drained both his spirit and her savings. Jamie had always been fascinated by movies, and his favorite actor was none other than Keanu Reeves. Posters of John Wick and Neo decorated his room, reminding him to stay strong despite his struggles. His biggest dream? To get an autograph from his hero. Maria had promised she would try, but deep down, fear gnawed at her. Asking a guest for an autograph was against hotel policy, and she couldn't afford to lose her job. As Maria finished wiping down the marble counter near the entrance to the ballroom, her heart skipped a beat. There he was, Keanu Reeves, standing just a few feet away, talking politely to a group of fans. The urge to fulfill her promise to Jamie overpowered her caution. Hands trembling, she slipped her hand into her apron pocket and gripped the small, worn-out notebook Jamie had filled with drawings of his favorite characters. Just one autograph. Just one signature to bring a spark of hope to her grandson. Summoning her courage, Maria slowly stepped forward, her heart pounding louder than the music playing in the hall. As Maria approached, her footsteps felt heavy, as if the polished marble floor was pulling her back. Doubt clawed at her mind. What if she got fired? What if Keanu dismissed her like so many celebrities did with staff? But Jamie's face flashed before her eyes, pale, fragile, yet always smiling when he talked about his hero. That thought pushed her forward. She took a deep breath, tightening her grip on the notebook, and stopped just a few steps away from Keanu. He was mid-conversation, laughing softly at a joke someone made. Maria hesitated, unsure whether to interrupt. Just then, Keanu's gaze shifted, and his kind eyes landed on her. A hint of curiosity flickered across his face as he noticed the elderly cleaner standing nervously with a small notebook clutched to her chest. Before Maria could even muster the courage to speak, he smiled warmly. "Hey there," he said, his tone gentle and inviting. Maria swallowed hard, fighting back the knot in her throat. I'm so sorry to bother you, sir," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "My grandson. He's really sick. You're his hero and he dreams of getting your autograph. I know I shouldn't ask, but it would mean the world to him." Keanu's expression softened instantly, his gaze never leaving hers. Without a hint of annoyance or impatience, he reached out and took the notebook from her hands. "What's his name?" he asked, his voice calm and reassuring. "Jamie," Maria replied, her eyes welling up with tears. Keanu opened the notebook and smiled as he saw Jamie's drawings, sketches of Neo, John Wick, and other characters, some with little messages like, "Stay strong like John Wick." Keanu's heart sank as he realized the depth of the boy's admiration. He carefully wrote, "To Jamie, stay strong, buddy. You're a warrior. With love, Keanu Reeves." Handing the notebook back, he placed a comforting hand on Maria's shoulder. "Tell Jamie to keep fighting. He's got this." Maria barely managed a nod, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you. Thank you so much," she whispered. But just as Maria turned to leave, a sharp, cold voice cut through the air. "Maria, what do you think you're doing?" She froze, dread seeping into her bones as she recognized the voice of Mr. Carlton, the hotel manager, stern and unforgiving. He stormed toward her, eyes blazing, and Maria felt her heart drop. Mr. Carlton stopped right in front of Maria, his face twisted with anger. "What did I tell you about bothering guests?" he snapped, his voice low but menacing. Maria's hand shook, and she struggled to find words. I'm sorry, sir. It was just for my grandson. He's sick, and Keanu was kind enough to—" "I don't care," Carlton interrupted, glaring at her with cold eyes. "You know the rules. Staff members are not to approach guests under any circumstances. You've been here long enough to know that." Keanu, still standing nearby, frowned as he observed the harsh exchange. Stepping forward, he spoke calmly, but his voice carried a firmness that made Carlton hesitate. "Sir, it's not a big deal. I didn't mind at all. In fact, I was happy to do it." Carlton barely spared Keanu a glance before returning his attention to Maria. "Mr. Reeves, with all due respect, this is about maintaining professionalism. If one staff member thinks they can break the rules, it sets a bad example for everyone. We can't allow it." Maria swallowed hard, the weight of guilt and fear crushing her. She knew how strict Carlton was about rules, and she couldn't afford to lose this job, not with Jamie's medical bills piling up. But before she could say anything, Carlton pointed toward the back hallway. "You're fired, Maria. Pack your things and leave immediately." The words hit Maria like a punch to the gut. Fired. Just like that. After 20 years of working tirelessly, cleaning up after countless guests, without complaint. Tears blurred her vision as she nodded silently and began to turn away. Keanu couldn't believe what he was hearing. He stepped closer to Carlton, his expression darkening. "You're really going to fire her over something so small? For trying to bring a little happiness to her sick grandson?" Carlton stiffened, clearly uncomfortable with the confrontation. "Rules are rules, Mr. Reeves," he muttered. But Keanu didn't back down. Sometimes rules are meant to be broken when they go against basic kindness and humanity. He shot back. Carlton hesitated, his face reddening as guests nearby started whispering, sensing the tension. Maria wiped her tears with the back of her hand, too humiliated to look back. She made her way to the staff room, her legs feeling like they would give out any second. She couldn't believe it was over. Years of loyalty and dedication shattered in a moment. As she gathered her belongings, the reality of telling Jamie hit her like a tidal wave. How could she face him and say she lost her job just because she tried to make his dream come true? Meanwhile, back in the lobby, Keanu wasn't done. He looked Carlton square in the eye and said firmly, "If you think this is over, you're wrong. You don't just fire someone for being human. I'll make sure everyone knows how this place treats its employees." Carlton's face paled as he realized who he was dealing with. But Keanu was already pulling out his phone, determined to make things right. As Maria stepped out of the hotel, the cold night air hit her like a slap, making her shiver. She clutched Jamie's notebook to her chest, her heart aching with a mixture of guilt and sorrow. The thought of facing her grandson tore her apart. How could she explain that her simple act of kindness had cost her everything? She wandered aimlessly down the empty street, fighting back tears, when suddenly her phone buzzed in her pocket. Hesitating, she pulled it out and saw an unfamiliar number. "Hello," she answered, her voice trembling. "Maria, it's Keanu," came the familiar, soothing voice from the other end. Maria's breath caught in her throat. "Mr. Reeves, why are you calling me?" "I just found out what happened. Listen, I'm not letting this go. You didn't deserve to be treated that way. I've already posted about it on my social media, and people are furious at the hotel's management. I want you to come back." Maria's heart pounded in disbelief. But they fired me," she whispered. "Not for long," Keanu assured her. "I'm making sure they fix this, Just hang in there. You did nothing wrong." Within minutes, social media exploded with reactions. Keanu's post had gone viral, and fans from around the world condemned the hotel for firing an elderly worker over something so trivial. Hashtags like #justice for Maria and #kindness. Matters trended worldwide. The backlash was swift and relentless, and soon enough, the hotel's management was bombarded with calls demanding an apology. Back at the hotel, Mr. Carlton was in a frenzy, trying to handle the PR nightmare. His phone rang non-stop, and the hotel's social media pages were flooded with angry comments. Realizing the gravity of his mistake, he quickly dialed Maria's number. When she answered, his tone was starkly different from before. Nervous, almost desperate. "Maria," he stammered. We might have acted too hastily. Please come back to work. We're terribly sorry for the misunderstanding." Maria hesitated, trying to process the sudden change in attitude. "Are you saying I can have my job back?" "Yes, of course," Carlton replied hastily. "And we'll compensate you for the trouble. Please just come back." As Maria hung up, she couldn't help but let out a shaky breath of relief. Moments later, her phone buzzed again. It was Keanu. "They called you, didn't they?" he asked with a hint of satisfaction. "Yes, they want me back," Maria replied, still in shock. "Good," Keanu said gently. "But it doesn't end there. I'm covering Jamie's medical expenses. You shouldn't have to struggle just to make a little boy happy." Tears streamed down Maria's face as she whispered, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," Keanu replied warmly. "Just tell Jamie to keep being strong, and that he's got a friend who believes in him." As the news of Keanu's kindness continued to spread, Maria couldn't help but smile through her tears. One small act of compassion had changed everything, not just for her, but for Jamie too. And in that moment, Maria knew that sometimes kindness wasn't just about grand gestures. It was about standing up for what was right, even when it seemed impossible.